Good afternoon, Jaguars, and welcome back to another live episode of MVTV. I'm Emily Fearborn.
And I'm Lexi Logston. In this week's episode, we will take a look into National Athletes Day, the Mill Valley Lacrosse team, and another installment of what's happening now. So let's get started.
With spring sports in full swing, many coaches are dedicating lots of time and effort, not just in their classroom, but in their different sports. And sometimes they need to be recognized for their efforts.
Tina Talavera shares some moments of students showing their appreciation to their coaches.
Behind every good team is a great coach. As fourth quarter begins and spring sports are in full swing, I think it's time that we recognize and appreciate the hardworking and dedicated coaches we have at Mill Valley.
Thank you, Coach McAfee, for investing your time in helping me grow as a runner and a person. And sorry for breaking your swing set freshman year.
Thank you to Wild for being a great coach and a great teacher, and I appreciate you always making fun of me for the stupid things that I say.
Thank you, Coach Bogart, for teaching me everything that I know in tennis, and I'm glad you're my great cousin, and I hope you don't forget your glasses again.
Thanks, Mom, for our new parkas, and thanks for accepting March. And thanks for coaching us the past 4 years.
Thank you, Strickland, for pushing me every day to be the best baseball player I can, and thank you for the continual sarcasm.
Thank you, Coach Crandall, for everything you do for us. We all really love you, even though our practices really suck sometimes, but we all want to say thank you.
We have some awesome coaches here at the Valley. Make sure to come support them and their teams this season. This has been Tina Talavera reporting for MVTV.
Thanks, Tina. It's always good to appreciate our amazing athletics here at the Valley.
Many different students at Mill Valley are involved in unique activities and sports. Let's head to reporter Abby Miller to tell us more about lacrosse, followed by a rare activity by reporter Kylie Overbaugh.
From football, volleyball, basketball, and golf, there are so many sports represented here at Mill Valley, but there may be one in particular you might not know much about.
Lacrosse is a combination of multiple different sports. Soccer and hockey are probably the two that stand out the most.
I started playing because me and my friends wanted to try something new, and now it's helped me become like a better teammate and like work harder.
I've traveled all around the U.S. to play lacrosse, and it's changed me as a person for sure, and it's humbling.
We're not a real sport yet. It's still a club, so we're in a league called LAKC.
We have Shawnee Mission East, Shawnee Mission Patriots, Northland, which is basically the Park Hill schools combined, some of the Blue Valley schools, St. Thomas Aquinas, and some other schools.
People don't see it as like that important of a sport, even though it's growing really fast. So
if it was run through the school, then there would be a lot more people at games, and that could definitely help us. You could actually have tryouts, and I feel like it would also be a little bit cheaper if it was ran through the school and not just as a club.
Me and my teammates would all feel more respected and like feel like we're actually a part of something that's real, not just like a club.
Even though it is not official sport here at Mill Valley, you can still check out their game tomorrow at Lee Summit or their home game on the 23rd. This has been Abby Miller reporting for MVTV.
Although certain sports are more popular throughout students, sophomore Ainsley Shank participates in one that is less common, horseback riding.
I started horseback riding about 6 years ago, and I started because one of my friends rode here, and so she always told me about it, and so then I just decided to try, and I just fell in love with it. I am on the National Academy team, which means I ride and I also compete with my barn. So I do just regular riding lessons 2 to 3 times a week. I prefer doing a sport that's not as common because it's just you can help educate people about it, and it's also, I like that not a lot of people know about it because in a way there's not as much criticism about it. When you first start out, it's pretty easy because you're riding horses that are pretty like mindful and always want to behave. And then as you ride more, you are kind of riding horses that don't always want to behave. If you're wanting to try horseback riding, I would just say do it. Go to any clinic or any barn and they'll 100% help you through it because they'll ask you all sorts of questions about your experience and what you know about horses, and it's so much fun because it's just so different than like any other sport.
With more students pursuing less common sports, hopefully we'll inspire others to do the same. This has been Kylie Overbrough reporting for MVTV.
Thanks, Kylie and Abby. It's great to know that there are a lot of really cool activities outside of school. Now let's head to Blake and Delaney for this week's sports segment, followed by weather with Audrey.
Good afternoon, Jaguars, and welcome to this week's sports segment. I'm Delaney Kemp.
And I'm Blake Arney. To start off, the boys golf team competed at Oakwood Country Club on Monday, where they took third with a team score of 307. Sophomore Nicholas Mason led the team, breaking the school record by shooting a 4-under par 68. Yesterday, they played again where they took second at Prairie Highlands. They start their EKL run on Tuesday at Loch Lloyd.
The girls swim team competed on Tuesday at Blue Valley High School. They swim again tonight at Blue Valley North. Good luck, ladies.
The softball team has not been in action since last Friday when they lost to Blue Valley High School, but they play on Tuesday against Bishop Miege at 3-2.
The track team was in action last Friday at the Olathe Invitational, where the girls continued their winning streak, taking first, and the boys took second with many great individual placers, including Harry Aaronholtz, who tied the school record for high jump, clearing 6-4. They compete again tomorrow night at Shawnee Mission West.
The girls soccer team fell 2-1 on Tuesday in a hard-fought match against the defending state champions, Blue Valley West. They're in action again tomorrow at home against Shawnee Mission Northwest, so good luck to them.
The baseball team dominated Blue Valley West on Tuesday, winning with a score of 9-4. They play again tonight at home against Blue Valley North.
To finish up, the tennis team competed in a duel yesterday at home where the boys brought home the overall team win and every doubles team placed first. Jacob Hoffman also brought home the gold in singles. That's it for this week's sports segment. I'm Blake Arney.
And I'm Delaney Kemp. See you next week, Jags.
Good afternoon, Jaguars. Audrey Grabmeyer here with your weekend weather update. The temperatures this weekend are going to cool down significantly from what they have been the earlier part of this week. We're going to start off Friday with a high of 55 and a low of 34 and sunny skies. Perfect weather to go out and support your MV girls soccer team as they take on Shawnee Mission Northwest at home. On Saturday, we'll have a high of 55 and a low of 38 and cloudy skies, and we'll wrap up the weekend on Sunday with a high of 57 and a low of 40 with rain. That's all for your weekend weather update. Have a great weekend, Jags.
Wow, what a change in the weather. Too bad this weekend isn't going to be as good as the last. But if you're looking for something to do, make sure to check out the Plusical that is going on over the weekend.
Speaking of good weekends, many of our choir and band students participated in a regional solo and ensemble this past Saturday. Ashley Grega gives us a deeper look about what went on during the competition.
Okay. Mill Valley High School hosted the solo and ensemble competition on April 6th. Over 1,500 students from around the area participated in the event.
It's a CASHA event that's held every year. There are openings for instrumental solos and ensemble or vocal solos and ensemble. And they prepare their songs and then they sing in front of a judge. So there's a rubric that's set out by the state and you get scored on different categories like tone, intonation, rhythmic accuracy, note accuracy, blend, balance.
The students have to first get a piece that they're wanting to play, and most of the students solo-wise perform with a pianist, so they have to learn their part first and then they have to practice with a pianist. For a small ensemble in our band side of the world, we give them some music and they have to find time outside of school to prepare that music. When a student receives a 1, they are automatically eligible to go to the state solo and ensemble competition. April 27th will will be the state, and you do the exact same thing.
With band, you have to be more expressive with your instrument. Since you have no lyrics, you have to be more articulate, be more expressive with your dynamics and your musicality. With choir, on the other hand, you have to be very articulate with your words. Your consonants need to be very good, your vowels need to be very good.
Congrats to all of those who participated in the solo and ensemble competition this past weekend. This has been Ashley Grega reporting for MVTV.
You're in a dress and there's cars going by.
Congratulations to the symphonic band who got an overall 1 rating. Grace Nose and Jag Corral also received a 1 rating. Great job, Jags.
The arts are doing great things. Earlier this week on Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. there was a commencement ceremony for Mr. Strickland and the MV baseball team. Courtesy of Mammoth Sports Construction and Kansas Turf, our baseball team now has a new bullpen. They applied for this a few months back, and the organization picked the school who received it based on who truly needed it and who cared the most. Schools from all over the world applied, and MV was the winner. On behalf of all of Mill Valley, congratulations, Mr. Strickland, and thank you for all that you have done.
To finish this week's episode, Bennett Doyle has this week's installment of What's Happening Now, followed by the Film Fest promo.
Oh, hello there. This is the second to last episode of What's Happening Now this year. It means it's the last time I'm anchoring until next year. I'm Bennett, and that's Jack. Let's get right into it. Last Wednesday, a man claimed to be Timothy Pitson, a boy who had been missing for nearly 8 years after his mother took him on a road trip, then committed suicide, leaving a note saying that no one would find him. The man was identified as Brian Reaney, who now faces up to 8 years in prison for making false statements to a federal agent. And last week, the Ukrainian an event reminiscent of Y2K occurred last Saturday when the satellites that orbit the Earth ran out of storage. The system on the satellites was designed in 1980 and kept track of time in weeks, but was only given enough storage to keep track of 1,024 weeks. The count ended this year, setting it back to 0. However, the Air Force had been planning for the rollover for over 2 years, and just like Y2K, everything turned out alright. And finally, the most important presidential elections of the year are upon us. In Ukraine! Last week, Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko and candidate Volodymyr Zelensky both took drug and alcohol tests on live television ahead of a debate. In the first round of voting, Zelensky, who much like President Trump has no political background, took the lead with 31% of the votes. The second round of voting occurs on the 21st of April. And that's all we have for this week's episode of What's Happening Now. Tune in on May 9th for the very last episode of the year with Jack. Peace.
I forgot about this. That's it for this week's episode. This has been Emily Fearborn
and Lexi Logston. Please stay tuned for the office announcements following the credits.